Hello everyone, we're here with the freshly launched Honor 10 flagship phone, just £399 here in the UK, despite the fact that it rocks very similar specs and style to the Huawei P20 flagship. I'm going to do a quick side-by-side with last year's Samsung Galaxy S8, which is now much more affordable. It's almost in that same price bracket, despite the fact that it obviously was a very premium device when it launched last year. So let's see which one might be best for you. Now first of all, stick them side by side like so, and you'll notice there's not a massive difference in terms of the general dimensions. They're effectively the same height and the same width as well. It's a 5.8 inch in the Samsung Galaxy S8, 5.84 inches in the Honor 10, so very little difference. Of course, in the Samsung's case, you do get that gorgeous infinity display design, so the screen just curves nicely around the edges of the device. But, of course, in the case of the Honor 10, there's very little bezel action as well. It is nice and skinny up above, down below, and to the sides. And, of course, you do get this bit of notch action with the Honor 10 as well, which helps to remove some of the bulk. Flip them over and you'll see that both of these bad boys are made of glass. You get a nice shiny glossy finish to them. You've got a choice of colours on the Samsung Galaxy S8. This is obviously the black model. In the case of the Honor 10, you've only got a couple to choose from. This is the flagship colour, which we actually think is the best one anyway. It's Phantom Blue, I believe they described it as. It's essentially a blue when you look at it head on, but when you sort of twist or tilt it, or both at once, you'll notice a kind of a purple hue coming through as well, and it's got this lovely lineation as well. It looks absolutely stunning. However, while the Samsung Galaxy S8 is fully IP68 rated, it's water resistant, so you can give it a good old dunking and it'll be absolutely fine. That's sadly not the case in the Honor 10. It's kind of splash proof, but not officially so. You do get a fingerprint sensor mounted here beneath the screen on the Honor 10, whereas it is of course rear mounted on the Samsung Galaxy S8, and it's still a bit awkward to get to. It's kind of been shoved off to the side of the camera lens, as you can see there, and it's kind of difficult to find when you're just picking up the handset. Whereas the Honor 10, you can obviously see it straight away, tap your thumb, and there you go, you're straight into the desktops. Thankfully, you do get the alternative biometric option here on the Samsung Galaxy S8, so you can use that instead if you want, like so. And you also get a bit of face unlock here on the Honor 10 as well, which is great. So again, just it scans your mug, and then just give it a quick tap, and you're straight into your desktops, bypassing the lock screen entirely. And that actually works really well in low light too. Finishing off the design as well, you'll see that both phones sport a Type-C USB port down beneath for quick and easy reversible recharging, and of course a single speaker grille and that 3.5mm headphone jack. Now, while last year's Samsung Galaxy S8, in our case at least, is still running Android Nougat version 7.0, with of course the Samsung experience slapped on top, in the case of the Honor 10 you've got fresh new Android Oreo 8.1, again with an overlay on top, in this case Huawei's Emotion UI. You'll find that the general everyday experience hasn't been changed up that much though. You still get basically the same features, the same gesture support and everything as well. So for instance, both handsets support a bit of one-handed use, so you can just shrink down that display, makes it that much easier to use. You get the exact same thing on the Honor 10, just a quick swipe and there you have it, nice and easy. You also get some other gesture support as well, so for instance fingerprint sensor gestures you get on both of these phones. You can actually get rid of that navigation bar and all that kind of shenanigans, and as you can see lots of other gesture support and voice control as well. And of course both Samsung and Huawei have slapped on their own apps too. The vast majority can basically be ignored, such as the likes of Samsung Notes, Samsung Members, things like that. Huawei, it's much the same. The only really useful one is the phone manager, which helps you basically maintain the resources, block any pesky numbers that keep nuisance dialing you, and the likes of that. And of course you've got the Samsung Health and the Huawei Health in both cases if you want to just track your steps over the course of the day, things like that. Though here on the back you also do get a heart rate sensor on the back of the S8, which just helps you to record your resting pulse. So about the display tech, well, it's a 5.8 inch Super AMOLED here on the Samsung Galaxy S8, whereas it's a 5.84 inch Full HD Plus LCD display here on the Honor 10. In both cases you get a stretched aspect ratio of course, which is all the fashion these days, so it's 18.5:9 on the Galaxy S8 and it's 19:9 here on the Honor 10. That basically just means it's nice and comfortable to use, get a nice narrow grip to it, so very handy when you're just doing everyday tasks, and also if you're getting a bit of Netflix on the go it means less letterboxing as well. Now Samsung's display is technically sharper, it's a Quad HD Plus, which means 2960 by 1440 pixel resolution. In the case of the Honor 10 it's not quite that sharp, it's Full HD Plus, so it's 2240 by 1080, but in both cases you get some nice crisp visuals all the same. You'll have to really stick them side by side and look very closely to notice any changes in terms of the general pixelation. Of course, there's no denying that the Samsung Galaxy S8 produces more punchy colours, and that's despite the fact that here on the Honor 10, you've got the Vivid mode activated by default. It's still pretty punchy. You get some nice hues coming through there, but they don't pop quite the same way that they do on the Galaxy S8. It's absolutely stunning. You've got a little bit of control in both cases as well over the actual visual output. In the case of the Honor 10, you can manually fiddle about with the color temperature, and you also knock it down to normal mode, which basically just offers more realistic images, not quite so vivid reproduction. Here on the Samsung Galaxy S8, you can do a similar thing. You've got the adaptive display option by default, but you can knock that back down to basic if you don't want it to produce quite the same levels of saturation, color range, and all the rest of it. And once again, you can play around with the color balance if you need to. Now, what's actually powering these handsets? Well, it's the Exynos 8895 in the case of the Samsung Galaxy S8, of Samsung's own creation, backed by 4 gigs of RAM, and it's still nice and nippy, even a full year on, no problem whatsoever. All your apps, they'll load up instantly. You can get multitasking on the go, and the latest games play without a hitch. Same story on the Honor 10. Again, it's a Huawei chipset, the Kirin 970 in this case, so it's a bit fresher. Again, backed by 4 gigs of RAM, and we've noticed absolutely no performance dropouts in the couple of days we've been using it so far. It's been absolutely stunning. And if you are a benchmark enthusiast, we have run a bit of Antutu on both these handsets. As you can see, again, very little difference between the two, despite the fact that Samsung's phone is that little bit older. As for the battery tech, the Galaxy S8 boasts a slightly smaller 3000 mAh cell compared with the 3400 that you get packed inside the Honor 10. But in terms of general battery life, the Honor 10 is ever so slightly better. We've noticed that it does over a day of use, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S8 generally does you about a day. That's if you're fairly demanding, rocking the camera quite a lot, that kind of stuff. In terms of the battery tech, the Galaxy S8 sports a slightly smaller 3000 mAh cell compared with the 3400 mAh that you get here on the Honor 10. The Honor 10 definitely so far seems to be winning in terms of general longevity. You'll get easily over a day of use of it, even with fairly demanding usage, whereas the Galaxy S8 tends to just last the day. But of course, in both cases, you get lots of bonus battery modes to help out in that case, power saving modes, and you can check exactly what is using all of your usage, and you can cull that in the background when needed. And of course, you get a nice bit of fast charging in both cases as well, so just an hour at the plug is generally enough to get you more or less a full day of life. However, the Samsung Galaxy S8 is the only phone here to boast a bit of wireless charging as well, if that floats your boat. So what about that camera tech? Well, the Honor 10 of course sports a dual lens snapper, whereas Samsung's Galaxy S8 makes do with just the one lens instead. So in the case of the Galaxy S8, it's a 12 megapixel snapper with an f1.7 aperture lens, whereas the Honor 10 boasts a 16 megapixel RGB lens backed by a 24 megapixel monochrome lens, and in both those cases it's f1.8. So the Samsung Galaxy S8 certainly so far at the time being seems to be slightly better in low light situations, though the Honor 10 seems to be performing quite admirably in that area as well. And of course, the fact that you've got the dual lens setup here on the Honor 10 means that you do have the portrait mode, which just locks onto your subject and then adds a nice bokeh background effect to them to really help them to stand out. That said, you still get a similar sort of thing here on the Galaxy S8. It's all done just using smarts instead, of course. It's selective focus, and that just again blurs the background to help your subject stand out, and you can actually tweak the results afterwards. As you can see, you get a handful of bonus other modes as well, including full Pro controls, which again you get here on the Honor 10. You've got the Pro Photo mode if you want to manually tweak things like the white balance, the ISO level, stuff like that. And in both cases you get a bit of slow motion and time lapse, or hyperlapse as Samsung terms it, for shooting funky video. Now the Honor 10 does of course boast Huawei's AI mode, which was introduced to the Kirin 970, just supposed to detect whatever you're trying to shoot a photo of and automatically adjust those settings for the best possible results. Now the use of the term AI is a bit redundant here. It's not really artificial intelligence, it's just smart camera tech. And the Galaxy S8, while it doesn't have an AI mode, it is very, very smart in detecting whatever you're shooting as well and producing really, really nice, crisp, great looking results. Now for the Honor 10, you do also have the live-in images or move-in picture mode, as they have termed it here, which basically just shoots a brief animation with every photo that you take, and just basically brings your photo gallery to life. It's a nice little feature to have if you shoot a lot of photos of your cats or kids. Of course, if you do have kids, then they'll almost certainly love the bit of AR emoji style effort that you get on the Galaxy S8. You can turn yourself into sheep, rabbits, all kinds of weird stuff, so that'll keep them occupied for hours. Then when it comes to the video mode, you can shoot in full HD at either 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. You've also got the option of Quad HD in the case of the Galaxy S8, or Full HD Plus here on the Honor 10, and then they both top off at 4K Ultra HD as well. And they've both got digital image stabilization as well, which isn't quite as effective or even active on those higher resolution settings. And as for the selfie camera as well, of course, in both cases they do the job nicely. It's a 24 megapixel here on the Honor 10 compared with the 8 megapixel on the Galaxy S8, but they'll both do the job for shooting your gorgeous mug when needed. And last but not least, I will briefly mention storage as well. You get 64 gigabytes here on the Galaxy S8, though it comes in different flavours as well. So that'll fill up reasonably fast if you're downloading a lot of Netflix apps, games, what have you. But thankfully there is micro SD compatibility as well, up to 256 gigs in size, so you can use that for storing photos and the rest as well when needed. Here on the Honor 10 it only comes in 128 gigs, and unfortunately there's no expandability either, no micro SD card support, so you're stuck with what you got. And that, in a nutshell, is the Samsung Galaxy S8 versus the Honor 10. Not a massive amount between them in terms of things like performance, battery life, the Honor 10 is slightly better, but in terms of the general specs and everything, there's not a massive leap. So let us know in the comments which one you would prefer, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a subscribe and ding that notifications bell for everything you need to know about the Honor 10 and every other fresh new Android phone that is launched. Thanks guys!